The thing about evil is that it isn't always a shadow in a corner of a room lurking, ready to pounce, or a whisper on the wind. Sometimes it's a living, breathing person. And sometimes, when that person tries to extinguish a life, something much older, colder, and darker takes an interest. I was 1 day old when my mother tried to snuff out my life with a pillow. She had always wanted a son, but I came along instead, a girl. She put on a fake smile, a smile that she used every day of her life in front of others. But in the home, it was different. She was standing over my crib, pillow in hand. No one knows what she had done before, but sometimes God intervenes, and my grandmother Lucy walked in just in time. She whisked me up and took me out of the room, all the while my mother smirked. But that day, it wasn't just my grandmother that came into the room. They say that if you're near death, death comes to collect. I think he did, but instead of taking me, he decided to stay. And that's where our story truly starts. From that moment on, strange occurrences became a part of my life. By the time I was 5, these eerie happenings had become commonplace. Objects would move on their own, shadows danced on walls without an apparent source, and whispers filled the night air. My grandmother always seemed aware, but would say little, just holding me close and telling me to be brave. Then, just after I turned 5, we moved to a new house thinking perhaps a change in scenery would end the strange phenomena. It didn't. If anything, whatever had attached itself to me from that near-death experience at birth upped its game. The new house creaked at night as if it was alive, and the whispers grew louder, forming almost coherent sentences. I would often see a figure at the corner of my vision, a figure too tall to be human, clothed in darkness. One night, I woke up to find my toys arranged in a circle around my bed, as if guarding me from something only they could see. The air was heavy with a chilling presence. Then I heard it, a low, guttural voice that sent shivers down my spine. "You belong to me, little one." It was then that I understood. When my mother had tried to kill me, I'd brought something back from the brink of death. An entity, older and darker, that now claimed me for its own, and it wasn't going to let me go. Many years later, I recalled several incidences of the strange but true happenings at that old, creepy house. One in particular. To this day, I still wake up gasping for breath. In the first few stages of sleep, I think subconsciously my baby mind remembers what happened that day, what my adult mind had chosen to forget. We had just moved into a new home, a 3-bedroom semi-detached house with a large garden. But it wasn't just us who moved in. The presence that had followed me from day one came along as well. We had been in the house for only a few hours when the first night provided its eerie welcome. My bed started to shake violently, something that had never happened before. I didn't dare scream for my mother, knowing she would be angry. That is, if she was even in the house. Most nights, she and my father would be at the pub next door until the early hours. The house's garden was expansive, with a large oak tree standing tall just beyond the bottom of the garden. However, this serene setting was marred by a sinister past. The land had once been an animal slaughterhouse. During one of our explorations in the garden, we dug up old bones of cattle and horses, some with skulls that still had wobbly teeth clinging to them. To make matters worse, the new location of the slaughterhouse had been moved, but not far enough. The smell of rotting flesh would fill the air on a daily basis, seeping into every corner of our new home. The unsettling scents and the shaking bed felt like warnings, as if the land itself was haunted by the spirits of the past, and they had no intention of leaving us in peace. As the days went by, the presence grew stronger, almost feeding off the house's morbid history. It wasn't just a new start for our family. It felt as though we had unwittingly stepped into a place where the past refused to stay buried, and the darkness of the old slaughterhouse still lingered, waiting to make itself known. The first of the deaths started when I was 16. Not only was the land of our home cursed with animal spirits, but God knows what or who else lurked in the shadows. It felt like the dark figure that had entered my life on that fateful day had transformed. Now it was something sinister, collecting souls. I used to go to a day club with a young girl who was 5 years younger than me. At just 11 years old, she was a sweet little angel, often a pain, but endearing nonetheless. One sunny afternoon, while she was playing in the field behind our house, tragedy struck. A bike ran over her, taking her precious little life in an instant. I couldn't believe it. She had always made a beeline for me whenever we played the gaming machines, effortlessly bringing joy into my world. It wasn't just a loss for me. It shattered the lives of her poor parents. At her funeral, the image of her mother collapsing into her daughter's grave is a sight that will haunt me forever. I wept for weeks, grieving the loss of my little sister figure. Yet, my mother sneered at my sorrow, calling me melodramatic and mocking my pain, which only made the entity's grip on my life tighten. That's when the presence began to truly up its game. Strange occurrences escalated around the house. Whispers echoed in the hallways, and shadows danced more frequently at the corner of my vision. It was as if the entity was reveling in my despair, amplifying the misery and sorrow surrounding me. I felt trapped in a world where grief was entwined with a dark force that was hungry for more chaos. As the horrific occurrences continued to unfold, I realized that it was not just my life it sought to ruin. Its insatiable hunger for souls had only just begun.